When it comes to development, there are certain stages that you'll go through. The first stage is making a pattern. A pattern maker, take your sketch, the measurements, the design details that you want, fabrics that you source, because it's important for them to know what kind of fabrics you're going to work. If it has stretch to it, if it's not, if so, to what degree it has stretch, the heaviness of it, how it drapes, all of these things, not only the content. Something I want to make sure that a lot of you guys understand is that I can have two fabrics that will have the same content, but they're going to act completely different because they were knitted or woven completely differently. Okay? The weight is different. They're going to drape differently. They're going to act on the body differently. Okay? So for a pattern maker to get their pattern done right, that's something they need to understand. So they need a swatch or understanding of what that fabric looks like. So they'll take the sketch, the swatch, and every other information that you will give them as far as the design, and they'll create a 2D pattern. Okay? They're basically, some of them still do it by hand. It's the old school. Some do it on a computer, but the end result is a paper pattern. And a paper pattern sits in 2D. Now, that pattern goes into a sample maker, and that sample maker will take it, lay it on fabric, cut the pieces, and sew them together. Okay? So now we have a sample. Now, at the early stages, at that first early stages, quite frankly, when you make the first pattern, you don't necessarily need to make the first sample all finished and done with all the details and completed. Because what you want to get is just a general idea, a quick glimpse. Is the fit right? Is the measurement right? Is my design ideas there? You know, just kind of like, hey, can I get a quick look into generally before I go deeper into this and spend more time and money and waste a lot of energy? And can I see at high level, are the big things are nailed here? If they are, then we'll go and make another sample. So what happens in the process is, first pattern, like I said, is done by a pattern maker. Then normally the next stage is what you just mentioned, a muslin, or we might call it fit sample, which is really not a finished sample in most cases. It just, you put it together, and many times you will not even make it in the exact fabric that you will end up making the product in. Although I would recommend that if that fabric that you'll end up using is not too expensive, then go ahead and make that muslin with it. You'll take that, you'll fit it on a fit model. The pattern maker, by the way, should be at that fitting because he or she knew or know what they did. And many times, if you're not the pattern maker and technically you're not there yet, you might think that the change that you see needs to be fixed this way, when in reality, it's a different way that will affect that. A pattern maker will have that view. So you want the pattern maker in that fitting. You'll take whatever comments from that fitting, corrections that needs to happen. The pattern maker will take that, will make the corrections on the pattern, and then you'll go to the second sample. Now, depends on how far or close the first fit sample was. You can decide if you want to go and make that second sample still a muslin, a fit sample, not finished completely, or maybe it's good enough to make the full samples from it. The idea is that at the end of this process, I have a pattern ready for production that I can go into a factory, hand them the pattern, they can cut the fabric from that and make me the sample that I know I want, and then bulk produce it as well. Okay?
Perfect.
One other thing just to add to this is when you do the development, normally you develop or work on one size only. Once you perfected that size and it's ready for production, then you send it outside to a grading company and they'll grade to the other sizes. So you don't have to work on all the sizes right from the get-go. Once this is done, then I can go and apply everything to the other sizes.